Hey everybody, this is Ryan McClanahan with HistoryThroughCards.com. I hope you're all doing very well today. Recently, a friend of mine was breaking up a 1970 Topps set, and it gave me the opportunity to go through his cards and pick out some for my collection. And this isn't really a set that I'm all that familiar with. And cards from the 1970s and 60s, I kind of ignored when I was, in my teens and 20s and even 30s, just because they were mostly cheap, and I really didn't think that they would hold value for the most part. Like I don't think I would have gotten anything really out of it. Again, like I'm not really into the value of my cards. It's not why I collect, but it's kind of a side note that um, these cards from like the 1960s and 70s and now even 1980s, um, they were like a dime a dozen. You could get them at any point in time. So I really kind of focused more on pre-war stuff and cards from the 1940s and 1950s. And I'm kind of glad I did that first, and then got into the cards of the 1960s and 70s because you can, for the most part, you can still grab these cards very affordably. And I was going through some of the cards of the 1970 Topps set, which again I'm not terribly familiar with because I really didn't have any in my collection up until maybe this year, in fact. And again, I didn't think too much of these cards, and I started to notice that there were a number of players in this set that are featured in the dugout, usually near the bat rack, like this card right here of Tony Taylor. So I wanted to actually tell you guys a little bit more about Tony Taylor. I thought this was a really fantastic card, and there are a number of these particular cards in this set. Another one is this gentleman right here, Harmon Killebrew. I actually knew Harmon for a little bit. A very nice guy, very quiet guy, but I met him back in 1999 during the All-Star game, and I really enjoy this card actually. Uh, it's just a really neat image, and I think uh, these kind of cards, I don't know if they have a certain premium to them, but I think they are kind of like a fan favorite, and they're definitely a selling point to the 1970 top set. And I wanted to get a little bit more into Tony Taylor's career today because I think this is one of the more nicer cards in the set. You have to have great photography first to actually sell your card, your set, to make it very popular. Between like 19, I don't know, 56 and 1980, where Topps had a monopoly. They could produce crap, and you couldn't do anything about it because it's the only game in town, really. So, 1970 Topps, you do have certain cards that are not good looking, but you also have a number of cards that really do shine, and I think a lot of them are these dugout cards. And you also have, so Harmon Killebrew here is a Hall of Famer, but you also have Hank Aaron too, who's also in the dugout, and it's a really neat looking image. So like along with a great image, a great photograph, you do need a really nice design. This one's kind of muted, to tell you the truth, but I think it works. It's not overtly 1970s. It doesn't really tell you that for the most part, like, oh, that's a card from the 1970s. Like that's not what it says to me. But uh, it is kind of like a, I don't know, like a sleeper, if you will. So 1970 Topps, real quickly. It's a set of 720 cards measuring at 2.5 by 3.5 inches, and that is standard going back to 1957. And there are several subsets in this set, and it's the league leaders, the American and National League playoffs, and the World Series All Stars, and the team sets as well. And then you have Thurman Munson's rookie. And I actually have had Thurman Munson's rookie. I think I picked it up maybe 20 years ago, and it was actually a lot. It is still, I think, a lot cheaper than his 1971 tops, which is on seemingly on everybody's want list. So I kind of also wanted to look more into the high numbers as well, and those are pretty tough actually. It's series 6 and 7, so those are going to cost you a little bit more. But one of the cards I did grab was again like the Tony Taylor here, and I wanted to find out more about Tony Taylor. And again, I'd love to know what's going on in this photograph right here. Kind of intriguing, really. And there are certain cards that do catch your eye, and you definitely want to find out more about the image or the player or the card in general. And I think again, um, if you're a card collector just to flip, that's one thing. But if you're intrigued by a certain card or a player, the image has a lot to do with that and the design too. So today I'm going to tell you a little bit more about Tony Taylor and his career. So I think you're going to enjoy this. Here we go. This is from the Philadelphia Daily News, July 17th, 2020. One last ovation for Tony Taylor by Matt Breen. Tony Taylor, the smooth fielding Phillies second baseman of the 1960s, who grew up on a sugar plantation in Cuba and became one of the most popular players in franchise history, died Thursday morning. He was 84 years old. Mr. Taylor played 15 seasons with the Phillies, which is tied for third in franchise history. He was apprehensive about coming to Philadelphia in May 1960 after being traded by the Cubs, but those feelings were quelled when he received a standing ovation in his first game at Connie Mack Stadium. It was the start of a decades-long love affair between a hard-nosed player and a hardened fan base. Mr. Taylor was an all-star in 1960, played in all but 12 games for the star-crossed 1964 Phillies, and held the franchise record for games played at second base, 1,003, before Chase Utley passed him. The Phillies added Mr. Taylor to their Wall of Fame in 2002. Mr. Taylor died from complications from a stroke he suffered last August after leaving an alumni event at Citizens Bank Park. He is survived by his wife Clara and his children. Tony was undeniably one of our most popular Phillies of his or any other generation. Phillies managing partner John Middleton said his baseball talent was second only to his warm and engaging personality, as he would always make time to talk with fans when he would visit Philadelphia for alumni weekend. Growing up as a Phillies fan, my favorite memory of Tony is the remarkable play he made to save Jim Bunning's perfect game. It was the play of the game, and it was thrilling to see it back then. It remains equally thrilling today to watch Tony turn a sure hit into an out. On behalf of Lee and myself and the entire Phillies organization, we send out our deepest condolences to Clara and all of Tony's family and friends. Mr. Taylor was the team's top base stealer 6 times and led National League second baseman in fielding percentage, .986, in 1963. Mr. Taylor played in all 4 infield positions for the Phillies and finished his career with a .976 fielding percentage. Every time I put on the uniform, I have so much fun, Mr. Taylor said in 1985. That's why I got into baseball in the first place, because I loved it. To me, the day isn't right until you put on the uniform and cross the white line. And when you walk back into the locker room and take off the uniform, that's it. That's when the fun stops. The Phillies traded Mr. Taylor to Detroit in June 1971 as the last place team tried to move its popular player to a contender while adding a pair of prospects. But Mr. Taylor was crushed and cried in the clubhouse at Veterans Stadium. He had purchased a home in Delaware County, become a fan favorite, and wanted to spend the rest of his career with the Phillies. "This is my home," Taylor said that night. He returned to the Phillies in 1974 as a free agent, joining a team that was suddenly on the brink of contention. The 38-year-old veteran was a reserve infielder that season and led the Phillies with 17 pinch hits, often receiving standing ovations when he came to the plate. His 54 career pitch hits ranked second all-time among Phillies, trailing only Greg Gross, 117. The way the fans received me when I came back, the ovations they gave me, it showed me how much they appreciated the way Tony Taylor played baseball. Hard, always hard, Mr. Taylor said. It meant so much to me. It showed they remembered. It showed they cared. Mr. Taylor recorded his 2000th career hit in 1975 and retired after the 1976 season. He spent the next 3 seasons as the Phillies' first base coach before becoming a minor league instructor in 1980. He received a championship ring when the Phillies won the World Series. Perhaps that ring helped make up for the collapse in 1964. "It's hard to explain to people what happened," Taylor said in 1979, 15 years after the Phillies blew a 6 and a half game lead with 12 games to play. Sorry, guys, that's a little difficult to read there. With 12 games to play, we still can't explain it, even to ourselves. Mr. Taylor managed in the Phillies minor leagues from 1982 to 1987 before returning to the majors as a first base coach in 1988 and 1989. His goal was to manage in the big leagues, but he was never given the chance. He worked for the Giants from 1990 to 1992 and for the Marlins for 12 seasons. Mr. Taylor joined the Marlins as a minor league instructor before their inaugural season, placing him with an organization with a large Cuban fan base. He was not with the Marlins in 2003 when they won the World Series, but he rejoined the team before the 2004 season as their bullpen coach. Brad Penny, one of the team's top pitchers, handed Mr. Taylor a box before a game in April 2004. Inside was a World Series ring purchased by Penny for Taylor. Penny told Mr. Taylor that he deserved the ring for all the years he spent with the Marlins. 4 decades after becoming a fan favorite in Philadelphia, Taylor was just as popular in Miami. "As long as I'm around baseball, I love being anywhere," Mr. Taylor said while coaching in Reading in 1985. "It's fun. It was like that when I came to this country from Cuba making $125 a month in Class A, and it's still like that now." So for me, collecting baseball cards just isn't about the stars. In fact, there's a lot more players who played baseball that were not stars, and a lot of these guys are actually forgotten about today. Even like 10, 15 years ago, we're just not talking about these players, and a lot of them are kind of flying under the radar too when it comes to being selected for a Hall of Fame consideration. And so I know that's a little bit different than what we're talking about here today with Tony Taylor, but he was a star, and Tony Taylor spent a lot of his years, 40 at least, in Major League Baseball. And, there's not a whole lot of people who can say that. So this, again, is I think, a very popular player with a very popular card in a set that has been kind of overlooked over the last 50 years, I think. Again, I kind of overlooked this set and most of the sets of the 1960s and 1970s just because they were all over the place. And again, if you're just in the hobby for value, like I'm not gonna judge you. Like okay, fine. Um, but a lot of cards from the 1960s and 70s and even 80s and 90s are they're not really valuable, and I'm not entirely sure if that's actually going to be the case in the future either. The 1970 Topps set does have a lot of stars, included Johnny Bench, Hank Aaron, again, a very nice Nolan Ryan, third year, is also in this set, and Pete Rose, and Yaz, and there's another rookie in this set, Billy Canigliaro, who is the brother of Tony Canigliaro, who is also in this set, which kind of surprised me as well. I thought after 1967 or 1968, Tony C's career was kind of like done because he got hit in the face with that pitch, which I believe led to his early demise as a human, unfortunately. Um, and that's a different story where who knows where Tony C would have gone if he hadn't gotten hit in the face. And obviously, me being from Massachusetts, uh, we have just so many stories about both Billy and Tony Canigliaro. But you also have Ted Williams in this set as well as a manager of the Senators, I believe. But again, like I wasn't really terribly familiar with this set. There wouldn't be any reason for me to do so because I was more interested in collecting pre-war cards, as I said before. But I got a second look at this set, and again, the cards with the players featured in the dugout, I think is a very nice touch that I think you guys might enjoy. I'm not terribly familiar with too many collectors that try to complete sets these days, and 1970 Topps being 720 cards is a feat, especially the series 6 and 7, and those are kind of expensive. Again, usually the last two series in a set usually are, except for 1957, which I believe is the middle sets that are the quote unquote short print or single print, and then like the 1950 Bowman, which is the first series of baseball, which is a short print series as well. But I'd love to hear what your favorite set from the 1970s is. And if you want me to cover it, I will. If you have any favorite players from the 1970 Topps, I'd love to know who they are. And again, like I don't know everything about the sets of the 1970s or 60s. So any tips or anything like that, I'll definitely share them here and give you guys credit. So again, guys, thank you so much. I really appreciate it as always, and I would love to hear what you guys have to say in the comment section below. Until the next time, I will talk to you later. Have a good one. Bye.